You may have noticed that Tarkov has been getting rapid updates over the last few weeks, and it's all down to a new tool where BSG can communicate directly with the community. I just wish we'd had this years ago. Today we'll be looking at the Tarkov.community website, which has blown my mind on how well it's working, and I'll show you how to see BSG's actual response to specific topics that you're interested in. So Tarkov.community is a site created by a team of emissaries primarily in the OCE region to log issues and quality of life suggestions from the Tarkov player base with the aim to more easily track what people are bothered about so they can report it to BSG. Trent, who is one of the emissaries, discussed this in a bit more detail on Reddit recently, saying that originally the site was not really built with the intention of BSG taking as much interest as they have done, and it was designed to track user requests and bugs that have been around for a while for the ease of logging them and reporting. The reason for this is that other social media sites like Reddit itself and also Twitter, and similarly goes for YouTube in some ways, is that the same topics come up over and over again, but because of the cyclical nature of these platforms, these posts that get hot rise to the top, everybody talks about them, and then after a week or two they disappear again at the bottom of the pile. So for example, the topmost post on the website at the moment is adding a keys container to the stash. This is one that was the most upvoted, and in fact we have already seen BSG post some pictures of this as a work in progress. Because of how it's run, the site is a little bit different than everywhere else because the rankings stay static based on the number of votes that they have, and so the issues with the greatest number of votes can be looked at by BSG and prioritized. This is all well and good, but if the BSG team aren't looking at it, then what's the point? So the important part about Tarkov.community is that BSG are not only actively looking at it, they're also posting on it too, and Nikita himself has recognized the importance of the site through his Twitter profile for people to go and log problems and issues for them to work on. So what's actually been fixed here so far, and what are BSG saying about these updates? When you first visit the site, it's in terms of trending, so new posts that are getting a lot of traction. So if you want to see which ones have the most votes overall, then you want to go on the most wanted screen instead. But there's a really interesting one here called BSG responded in the filters. All of these topics listed under here have had an actual response from BSG. Most of the time it is a cursory "this is planned" or "we're working on this," but at least you can see what they are prioritizing. So let's start with the ones that are actually done. So if we look through here, there's actually ones here that are completed, and so we could look at that as well as BSG's response. So here we've got buff the overall loot pool in raids. Now this was already done, and as it says here from Applesore, the loot pools have been increased on the maps, and we saw this in one of the technical updates recently. It wasn't by an enormous amount, so I haven't noticed it that much, but some people have been reporting getting some better loot spawns on the map itself. Next one, we've got paracord in the special slot. If you didn't know that this had happened, you can now put the paracord in one of the special slots on your PMC, so you no longer have to move the CMS in and out of your case if you're going to a map where you want to use the Red Rebel extract. These ones are specifically important on reserve because the other extracts are really tough, or on shoreline because you can get out of the northern extract near the resort, and also on lighthouse as well, where you can extract between the two chalets. So this one's extremely good, and this is one that actually appeared on here. So you can see this was 23 days ago. This was actually put on here, and BSG have put it through already. This is super easy for them to do, and it's one of the best things about this website because stuff that's easy, they just press a button to allow it to go into the special slot, and in it goes. We've got PvE PMC weapon durability should not be the same as scav weapons. So this one was already done. This is from Yoa, the lead game designer. He said PvE PMC weapon durability is now 80 to 100% to start with. We did this a couple of days ago. We will write more in the next patch. Thank you for the feedback. So that one's already done. Similar one here, boss and guard loot should be full durability and good. This one here, so all bosses have 80 to 100% weapon durability to start with, the guards too. There were several guns and armors with lower durability. I raised them to standard. Thanks for the feedback again from Yoa. So this is also done too. So this is basically just all the durabilities of AI in general. Should be better if they are special AI and not just basic scavs. Now, lots of people who play PvE know that Partisan is an absolute menace and he just goes after you all the time. This is normally a problem if you are on your own local machine. So if you're not running on BSG servers and you're running it locally, Partisan just spawns all the time. He's just way too often appearing on the map and he just comes after you because you're the only actual PMC on the map. You can kind of see the history here saying that it's not possible to make mechanics of PvE different to PvP. And Trent was saying that he'll make an exception for this post, so he's the one who's administering this particular part. And this has been a combination of lots of other threads. But you can see down here, it says here, patch 16.2 had the reduced spawn chance for Partisan in the PvE mode. So there was actually something wrong with it. They did actually end up going and fixing it. So you can see also that BSG are kind of responding and looking into stuff and then fixing it later, which is very, very cool. And we can see this actual log on these specific problems. We've never had this level of detail before from BSG. This one's very basic. I can't change my email. Apparently this one is fixed. This has been a problem that's been plaguing Tarkov for a really long time. So now if you can't change your email address, you should go through this particular set of steps here. So log into your account, etc., etc. I'm not going to read it all out, but you can go and read this on on the website or on this video if you want to see exactly how to do this, and it's a problem for you. A lot of people have like lost their email addresses and stuff, but they can still log into their profile, and so this is how you now can change that. This one in particular is very interesting, the increased ruble count in cash registers, because we've seen this affect the game quite significantly. Lots of people were basically saying, 100 to 200 rubles per slot is just nothing, right? Whereas on March 21st, they changed this, which was specifically for safes, but it looks like cash registers are also part of this pool. You can see this status from Hyperrat here, where he basically went through and pretty much looted like nearly 1 million rubles in the raid by just going through various cash registers and safes on Oli, Goshan and Idea using the keys, which is pretty good. I think it's much better that you can actually get that now in raid. The direct response from BSG was on the 20th, basically saying, look, after 20 minutes as the cache warms up, it will work. And they've added this, which is awesome. Now this one here, this is the headline of the video that I think is pretty cool. I'm sort of in favor of this for other players as well, but for the time being at least, you should be able to one-shot scavs in the head with any ammo. When a scav is without a helmet and hit in the head, it should die immediately. And this just makes sense, right? It's just so stupid that certain ammo won't one-shot scavs in the head, and certain scavs in the past, they used to have a higher head HP. There was different difficulties of scav, some with 35 head HP and some with 40. And so now what they've done is streamlined this, so all of the basic scavs, so it's sniper scavs and regular scavs of any difficulty, so the difficulty still exists, but those ones have a 30 head HP, and then AI PMCs, raiders and rogues still have 35 head HP. So this is much better now, and scavs should die more consistently to a headshot, because some of the higher pen, lower damage ammos, occasionally they won't actually hit 35 from a decent distance. I personally think that PMCs should also have their heads reduced to 30 HP, but that's kind of controversial. Some people don't think that that should be the case, but I just think that if you're not wearing a helmet, you should die if you actually get a hit from basically any bullet, except for maybe a buckshot pellet. So, but that's just my personal opinion. This one is interesting because you were able to instantly reload your gun, and the animation was broken when reloading and spam clicking. And what's fascinating about this one is that this actually is also to do with the bug that I was talking about recently when I was looking at times for reloading. I was looking at the bad lever on the M4, and you could click and start shooting before the animation had finished. And this has actually fixed that as well. So the animations that I showed in that video, that is not the case anymore. You actually can't do that now, even with the bad lever. It doesn't work anymore. So you can't start shooting while the gun's still kind of up in the air. Just as the magazine goes in, you used to be able to fire, but now you can't. So that's fixed this as well. There's multiple things that they've managed to fix with this particular change. And then this final one here, PvE AI interaction between factions. This one is basically AI PMCs just used to ignore scavs. Now it's up to 80%. And they've adjusted the detection speed for AI PMCs, so they detect enemies 20% faster than regular bots as well, which is pretty nice. So that's all of the completed ones. Now, there's a whole bunch of other ones which are in planned and started, so we'll go through and have a look at these. And these are ones that BSG is either looking at directly or they have planned for the future. Some of these have actually been done, but they're also waiting on the team to figure out whether it's actually finished or not. So this is the first one here. Add container in the stash and hideout for keys. So these are the most wanted, right? You can see the number of votes. Add the container in the stash for hideout and keys. This is basically like a massive key ring. And we can see this here through this Twitter link. If we go to Sergey's post here, he's one of the senior game designers at BSG, and he was basically saying, the real question is how many slots should it have? And I think, if it's just a stash quality of life thing for keys, I don't think it really matters because you can't really take this into raids. So it should be pretty big. It's kind of the same philosophy as the Scav Junk Box. You pay for this or do a quest or whatever and you get it, and then it saves you a lot of time. Pretty much all your keys should be able to go into it. And some people have got really good ideas about this, about how the case should be almost in tabs. So you could have your customs, words, whatever. You can name the tabs yourself, something along those lines. So allow you to put in all the keys that you have and allow you to organize them more easily, which would be awesome. So this one's coming soon. Got some basic ones here, like warning about quest item in your inventory. The quest item inventory is not that easy to get to. It's on your character. You have to go into a special menu. A lot of people just don't know it's there or forget. It's not really that obvious. And those quest items are really important because you've got into raid and managed to escape with them. And if you accidentally go into another raid, then you will die with it and lose it and have to do that quest again, which is really annoying. So this one is planned for quality of life update in the future, as per Applesaw, which is nice to see. Incremental add-in turn-in items to hideout upgrades. I talked about this in terms of making standard accounts a bit easier in particular, because anything that is quality of life like this disproportionately helps people on standard. And as I say, if you've got 10 wires or 10 bulbs for an upgrade, you should be able to add 2 wires and 2 bulbs that you have and add the remaining until you get them, until it's fully upgraded. You can do this with quest items now and have been able to for a long time. BSG added that ages ago, so they should be able to do this. And again, this is planned for a quality of life update, which is awesome. Removing quick grenade throw for AI. And the post says basically if you watch the AI, they don't pull them out and prime them like a PMC does, they just chuck them. Apparently this is in process. Increasing the number of scavs at all gas station, because there's a particular quest, Rite of Passage, which is cap required, and it's just really hard. You need to kind of lure them in, and it's really annoying. And what they're basically saying here is adding more bots in that zone, but they can still go looking for loot And if you see what BSG said, they basically said, look, it's in process. This is on March 17th. And then afterwards, 2 days later, they said, okay, we've added more bots in that zone. They can still go looking for loot. We're preparing a system where they will stay there for longer if there is a quest. So this is just kind of helping people actually complete stuff and making it less frustrating. So they're actually updating these threads as well. I think this site is so good, honestly. It's so good. Remove fan and raid status for ammo. This one particularly annoys me. If you're crafting stuff and then you're trying to mix fan and raid ammo with non-fan and raid ammo, you can't top up non-fan and raid stacks with fan and raid stacks, which is really painful. So you want to just be able to remove the fan and raid status for all these things. It's not a requirement to list this stuff on the flea anymore, so it really is unnecessary. The only thing that it could possibly affect is if you end up with these ammo stacks as a requirement for a daily quest, for example, but it's so rare and such a niche thing that it doesn't matter, and they should just remove that from the daily quest anyway, because it's already a pretty stupid thing. So apparently this is in process, which is awesome. Out-of-bounds snipers should provide 1 or 2 warning shots before going for the kill. I've never really thought about this, but it's one of those quality of life things that should just be true, because why do they just kill you straight away? It's really annoying. Again, this is in process, so we should look for that soon. Adding more crafts to the intelligence center. There's really not that much in there at the moment, and a lot of it's locked behind really endgame Lightkeeper quests where he gives you specific items, so hardly any of the player base actually gets to interact with this stuff. So apparently this is in process as well. I don't know what they're going to add there, but that's pretty cool. Now this one's a really good idea. Water collector refills water bottles. This would be an awesome thing. Allow the water collector to refill partially spent water bottles with 2 slots at level 1 and 4 slots at level 2. Level 3 grants 6 slots in addition to crafting purified water. This would be super cool, and apparently this is now planned. I've not heard this suggestion before, and I think that would be really nice. That would be a great way to refill stuff. I think Tarkov could do with a way of refilling things, you know, combining Salewas together and that kind of stuff, and then adding more water back to water bottles and things. I think this is a really good idea. It makes you feel a bit more like the hideout's actually doing something rather than just making you money. Reworking the test drive quest line. Apparently this is coming at some point. For those who don't know about test drive, you have to go through 6 of them now, which is pretty crazy. And the 2 in particular that are really hard is test drive 2 and 3. And those are the ones that require you to go to the Lighthouse with the AK-12 and the Valde, and also in the SR2M on streets, and you have to kill 20 PMCs. It's a lot with those specific guns on those specific maps. The rest of them, 4, 5, and 6, they are 30 targets, so you can kill scavs with those annoying guns. There's an RPD with a funny sight on it and stuff, but you can kill scavs with it, so it's really not that big of a problem. As per Apple, we did hear a lot of feedback regarding the requirements of test drive, and are currently thinking of various changes that can be applied to it to make it better. So they're thinking about what to do. I think they should just make it 30 targets or something, because it's just about going around and using those guns. It doesn't need to be PMC kills. It just makes them really obnoxious. And the AK-12 on Lighthouse is particularly obnoxious because it's not that great a gun for doing long-range shooting. The Valde's not that great a scope. No more spin looting on scavs. So if you've ever been watching a scav go to loot something and they're spinning round and round and round, it makes it really hard to get a headshot. Apparently this is in progress, so scavs will be static while they're looting again, which is much better. Improving performance. This one's fun because we did actually see something here on March 17th. Optimize the in-raid memory consumption and optimize the shadow quality settings for lower NPCs. I haven't seen any particular FPS improvement myself, but I don't have a low NPC, quote unquote. Mine is very much mid-range, but I think the people on lower NPCs have certainly seen an improvement, especially on customs, a lot of people are saying. So this is good, and obviously this is ongoing, so this one, it'll just continue on, and they're going to carry on trying to improve stuff as time goes on. English announcement in Tarkov Arena. I would like this personally, because you can't tell what they're saying, or at least just subtitles or something. So apparently this is in progress, because they do actually say stuff like, imagine you're playing Checkpoint, which is the domination type mode, where you have to go and capture points. They say Team XYZ has captured point B or something, and if you don't know any Russian, then you don't know what they're saying. So I think subtitles will be fine. I don't need it to be in English, but I'd like there to be some subtitles at least. Couple of ones here. Improve the AI movement, scavs phasing through doors. They did say fix several instances in which a bot would walk through a closed door, and this one's actually being left as started until we've confirmed that it's fixed. So this is the Tarkov community team, and this one isn't put as fixed because we don't know that it's completely done yet. So as the time goes on, we will see whether this is fixed or not, and eventually the team will update it to say, okay, it is fixed if they've actually done it. Because we know that a lot of these problems in Tarkov are a bit sticky and stuff kind of reappears and things. So until it's actually confirmed fixed, they say that, you know, all known instances, or several instances in this case, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's all fixed. So they're going to keep this open until it's definitely done. Cultist Circle bug gives nothing. This one's obvious. You know, sometimes you just don't get anything. Apparently this has also had some kind of fix to it, but we don't know if it's actually done yet. And then monitor names should not be randomly swapped. Since they put this in, I stopped having this. This is something that plagues me. Either Arena or the actual Tarkov game opens on another monitor all the time. It's really, really annoying. And I'm swapping monitors quite a lot because I have a capture card and that shows up as another monitor and all this stuff. So it makes my PC a bit confused. So they've said they've fixed several issues. And again, this one's being left as started until it's confirmed that it's fixed. But for me, it does actually look pretty good. So now we've gone through those. What else can we expect to see in the future? Well, if we go and untick all of these filters and untick BSG responded, we can go and see what else people want. And we're going to go on to the open filter because this one hasn't necessarily either been responded to or planned or started or anything like that. This is just suggestions that people have and the ones that they're most upvoted on. You can vote on this if you log in via Discord, by the way. You can just log in up here and then you can upvote and downvote certain things. This used to not have any downvotes on it, so it meant that every suggestion just was going up and up and up. And you can actually also see, just before we look into this, you can actually look at the ones that are most controversial. So these ones actually have the most downvotes on them. So previously found in raid items should not count for quests and stuff like this. Guns drop when 2 arms black. So these are ones that people have actually downvoted. It's interesting to see the ones that people don't like. If we go down to the last year, you can see the ones add background shooting sounds, simplify quest once prestige is reached, stuff like this. But let's go back over to most wanted and see what else people want. So add cases and better loot back to marked rooms or improved marked room loot. I think a lot of people would quite like there to be weapon cases and things like that at a very small chance, because it was actually really fun to be able to then decide, am I going to leave or am I going to fill it with guns? It's pretty cool. It's like, as they say, let us have an insanely lucky oh shit moment when we use it on a key and get something super rare and lucky. BSG didn't really like this because of the cheater situation. They end up farming rooms with weapons cases and stuff, and it just makes it so much easier to do RMT. But the problem is that you can't build the game around cheaters, and it's an ongoing battle. They're never going to be gone. So at least don't build the game around the detriment of the existing player base. This one is a big one. Adjust the stash size to be 12 columns wide. The issue is right now is that with it being 10 slots, you can't fit half of the cases in next to each other, next to each other, next to each other. You have to do some kind of weird Tetris in order to fill every single slot, and it's quite difficult. But with 12 columns, this is great because you can have a 3x3 next to it all the way to the edge, and you can also do 4x4s all the way next to each other all the way to the edge as well. So this is really cool. People have asked for this for ages. I know Pestily himself has asked for this too, but I don't know whether that's going to come, because that means a fundamental change to something that's very difficult to change, I imagine, which is the actual inventory itself has some vast ramifications on the UI, I would imagine. So I think this is doubtful, but we'll see. Add prestige to PvE mode. This one I know a lot of people want. At the moment, you only prestige in PvE if you prestige in PvP. So personally, I think they should separate those out, because some people just don't play PvP, and prestiging in PvP is hard because you've got time limit on it, and locking that out from PvE players, I don't know whether that's really a good thing. People aren't going to suddenly start playing PvP just because they can't prestige in PvE. It's just going to mean people get bored of PvE. Restarting the failed quests automatically. This does happen on some of them, but not all of them, so they need to fix that and make that work. Continue to load ammo and magazines outside of the inventory while slow walking is a nice one. We don't have any animations for that yet, so that's probably why you still have to be sat in your inventory, but it'd be quite cool to be able to do that and click it like you've got a med pack or something. Adding idle animations for AI scouts and bosses and bots so they look a bit more part of the world. Create a way to see all targets limited by the BTR after purchasing covering fire, and implementing a buy all needed in hideout crafts, which that would really help as a quality of life piece, I think. It is annoying having to go in and buy every single one, and then you get hit with the capture. It's a bit painful, so this would be quite cool. I do like this one, make looted containers stay open again. I believe this was actually a bug originally, so once someone else had looted a container, when you went up to it, it looked like it was still open. But I quite liked it, because you could kind of use that information to see that somebody had been in the area. You're trying to decide from the information that you've got whether they were there recently or whether they were there at the beginning of the raid, if you're there, say 20 minutes later, for example. And it allows you to kind of trail somebody, which I think is quite nice. I do wish that they'd added this again. Last one we're going to go through is the unlock certain tedious kill quests early. So this is like boss kills, grenadier, shooterborn, they're all in a big long line. So for example, I killed the goons the other day on Lighthouse, but because I haven't killed Sturman yet, I don't have this stray dogs quest, so I can't complete the goons one. So if I did then kill Sturman, I'm going to have to go and kill the goons again, which is quite painful. So BSG have done a good job of making the branching more branching and less straight, less linear down the quest progression. So you do get a lot of the bosses now in one big lump, rather than one after another, which is good. But I think they could still make this even more branching and even more parallelized rather than serial like this for boss kills, grenadier, the ones that are mentioned in here. Because things like shooterborn, you should be able to get those early if you can. So if you want to look through the rest of them, then go to the website and go and have a look. Go and click on open and then on most wanted, and you can see what people are looking at. If you want to just see what people are on at the moment, then you've got trending. These are the ones that are kind of new and the ones that are getting the most upvotes, or most wanted if you want to see all of them. On the filters, you can actually look at my posts. I've only posted one, refining the zeroing system, because this system kind of sucks right now, to be honest with you. It's zeroed for a very particular ammo type, and there was a great suggestion a long time ago from Dan Exer, basically saying that in the actual gun, you'd have this little calibration thing here. Let's see if I can zoom in. You have this little calibration button, and you could pick which ammo you were calibrated for and allow you to do that in the shooting range maybe. I mean, I guess you could do it at the start of a raid, but you don't really want to have to do that. Doing that in the shooting range would be awesome. So that was basically a good way of doing it, because then you're picking an ammo. The reason why it's not a good idea to have it automatically zero for every individual bullet, if you're doing an alternating mag of a supersonic ammo and a subsonic ammo, think on the AKs, US plus PS. If you did them one after another, fire every single bullet, your reticle would jump for the new zeroing, because US has a dramatically different range profile, ballistic profile, than PS does, because it's subsonic versus supersonic. So you really do need it calibrated to one particular ammo. That was my one anyway. That's the one that I put in there. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, this site has been so awesome so far. BSG are actually responding in line to various different suggestions and topics. We get to see what they think about it and see the ones that they like the most and the ones that they're actually looking at. So go and have a look. Make some topics if you want. Make sure you try and not make any duplicates, and go and write your comments and go and upvote the ones that you like, because this way we could probably make Tarkov better. And we are seeing so many fixes now because of this. It's really, really super good. So next up, if you haven't seen my video of the M4 with the BAD lever that was only introduced at this wipe and allows you to reload faster from an empty mag, specifically useful in Arena, then go and check out this one over here. Otherwise, as usual, big shout out to all my patrons, and as always, have fun in your raids.